Gerald is 63 years old. He opened his retirement account statement on a Tuesday morning in February, the same way he has opened every statement for the last 11 years. He looked at the number. It was the largest it had ever been. And then he felt something he did not expect. Not relief, not satisfaction, something closer to confusion. A quiet, uncomfortable question that sat at the back of his throat and would not go away. Why am I still doing this? He closed the statement. He went to work. He sat through a budget meeting that lasted 2 hours and produced nothing. He drove home in traffic. He did not mention the question to his wife. He told himself he would feel ready in 2 more years. Gerald is not unusual. He is the rule. Millions of people in their late 50s and early 60s have already earned the right to stop working full-time, and they do not know it. Not because they are not smart, because nobody explained how completely the rules change at a specific age, an age most people have heard of, but almost nobody understands in full. Age 59 and a half. What happens at that age is not a small footnote in a tax document. It is a structural shift in how your money works, in how income gets taxed, in how much control you actually have over your time. And for a significant number of people who are currently assuming they need to work until 65, understanding this shift means that the number on their statement is already enough. Not in 2 years, now. This video is about the gap between those two things, what people assume and what is actually true. We are going to follow 2 people through it. Gerald, who kept working because nobody explained the window he was sitting inside, and a woman named Patricia, who understood it at 59 and designed her exit while the IRS was not paying attention. Before age 59 and a half, the government has a very specific attitude toward your retirement accounts. You can technically access the money, but it will cost you. Traditional IRA and 401k withdrawals before that age come with a 10% early withdrawal penalty on top of whatever income tax you owe. If you are in the 22% federal bracket and you take money out early, you are paying 32 cents of every dollar to the government before you see any of it. That penalty is the lock on the box. The day you turn 59 and a half, the lock disappears. You still owe ordinary income tax on traditional accounts. That does not change. But the 10% penalty is gone. Which means those accounts, the ones you have been contributing to for decades, stop being locked boxes and start being tools. Actual, usable tools that you control. Gerald reached 59 and a half at the end of one work year and started the next one without any awareness that anything had changed. He kept contributing, kept accumulating, kept assuming the plan was 65. Patricia turned 59 and a half and made an appointment with a fee-only financial planner the same month. Not because she was in a crisis, because she had read enough to know that the year you hit that number is the year the planning gets interesting. What her planner showed her was not complicated. It was just something nobody had ever drawn out clearly before. The years between 59 and a half and roughly 65, before Medicare and often before Social Security, are the lowest tax years most people will see in their entire retirement. If you stop working during that window, your taxable income drops dramatically. You can choose exactly how much to pull from your accounts, from which accounts, and at what rate. You get to decide how wet the government gets. Picture 3 faucets over a kitchen sink. One is labeled tax deferred. That is your traditional 401k and IRA. One is tax-free. That is any Roth accounts you have built. One is taxable, regular brokerage accounts and cash. After 59 and a half, you control how far you open each faucet every single year. That combination determines your tax bracket, which determines how much of your own money you actually keep. Patricia started modeling the numbers. If she stopped working at 60, her income would drop from a salary that pushed her into the 24% federal bracket into a range where careful withdrawals would keep her in the 12% bracket or lower. That difference is not small. It is the kind of difference that shows up in 6 figures across a retirement. And she had not even gotten to the RMD problem yet. This is where most people, including Gerald, have no idea what is coming. Under legislation that took effect in recent years, the age at which the government forces you to start taking money out of tax-deferred accounts has increased. If you were born in 1960 or later, your first required minimum distribution does not begin until age 75. That means someone who retires at 60 could have 15 years. 15 years where they control the flow of their own money with no forced withdrawals. That is 15 years of a tax design window. Here is why this matters and why Gerald was slowly losing it without knowing. Every year Gerald kept working, his full salary continued pushing his tax bracket up. His retirement accounts kept growing, which means the future required minimum distributions that the IRS will force him to take at 73 or 75 were also growing. Larger forced distributions in his 70s will do three things he does not want. They will push him into higher brackets in the years when he is least able to plan around them. They will trigger higher Medicare premiums through income-related surcharges that most people have never heard of until the bill arrives. And they will eliminate the flexibility he could have used to manage taxes strategically in his final decades. Every additional year of full-time work past 59 and a half that is not paired with a withdrawal and conversion strategy is a year of quietly handing the IRS future money that could have stayed yours. Patricia spent the years between 60 and 63 doing something that looks counterintuitive from the outside. She was intentionally taking money out of her traditional IRA even though she did not need to spend it yet. Small amounts, carefully calculated to stay within the 12% bracket. She would pay the income tax on those amounts now at a low rate and move the money into a Roth account where it would grow tax-free for the rest of her life. She was shrinking the pile the IRS would eventually get to force out of her at 75. Gerald was growing that pile every year, unknowingly, faithfully, the way he had always done things. Comment below the word you would use to describe how you feel about retirement planning right now. Whatever the first word is, honest. I want to see it. There is a cost to working longer that does not appear on any spreadsheet Gerald has ever looked at. Every extra year of full-time work in your early 60s is one fewer year in what most retirees looking back describe as the most physically capable stretch of retirement. The early 60s are not the same as the mid-70s. Not for energy, not for mobility, not for what is possible with a free Tuesday afternoon. People who retired at 62 talk about what they could do then, the long trips, the hiking, the projects, the presence with grandchildren, as genuinely different from what they feel able to do at 73. Gerald's doctor once told him during a routine checkup that he was in excellent shape for his age. Gerald thanked him and went back to work the next morning. He has never asked himself what excellent shape for his age is actually worth, in what currency, against what alternative use. Patricia spent the summer she turned 61 driving the Pacific Coast Highway with her husband over 11 days. Not a rushed trip, not a vacation squeezed between 2 work weeks. 11 days of driving when they felt like it, stopping when something looked interesting, eating at places they found by accident, staying in small towns they had never heard of. They talked more during those 11 days than they had in the previous 3 years of commutes and deadlines and being tired at dinner. She did not feel guilty about the trip because she understood the math. She knew exactly where the income was coming from. She knew the tax impact. She knew what the account balance would look like afterward. The plan had room for it. The plan was built for it. Gerald went to a conference in Phoenix that June. He presented a quarterly update to a room of 12 people. 4 of them were on their phones the entire time. I know some of you are going to push back on this and say that working longer means more savings and more security. Leave that argument in the comments, because the response to it is not what you expect, and it depends on one specific number most people have never calculated. The number is this. If you stopped full-time work today, exactly how much income would you need from your investments to cover your actual spending, after accounting for any part-time work, a spouse's income if applicable, and whatever Social Security you might eventually claim? Most people have never run this number. They have a feeling about it. They assume it is their full current salary. It is almost never their full current salary. When Gerald finally sat down, at the insistence of his wife after she watched him fall asleep at the dinner table for the 3rd consecutive night that month, and actually ran the number with a planner, the answer stunned him. His actual annual spending was $61,000. Not his salary, not what he earned. What he and his wife actually spent on the life they actually lived. His retirement accounts, at the growth rate they were already achieving, were already generating that number. He had crossed the threshold somewhere around his 61st birthday without noticing. He had been working for free for 2 years. Not literally. His employer was still depositing money, but the amount he added to his net retirement security by continuing to work full-time was smaller than he had assumed, especially once you accounted for the taxes he was paying on income he did not need, the tax planning opportunities he was losing during his lowest bracket window, and the health years he was spending in meetings. He had been running a calculation without putting all the variables into it. There is one cost most people in their late 50s name immediately when you ask why they cannot retire before 65: health insurance. It is a real cost. A 62-year-old buying coverage through the Affordable Care Act marketplace can see premiums around $1,000 to $1,100 per month before subsidies. A couple could be looking at close to $2,000 monthly before tax credits. That number lands like a wall when people first hear it. But here is what changes the picture. When you stop working and lower your taxable income, you may qualify for income-based subsidies that dramatically reduce those premiums. The same withdrawal strategy that keeps Patricia in a low tax bracket also kept her household income low enough to access significant marketplace subsidies. Her actual out-of-pocket premium cost was considerably less than the sticker price that scared Gerald into staying employed. Health insurance is not a reason you cannot retire before 65. It is a cost that needs to be modeled inside a real plan. A real plan changes the number, and the number is almost always more manageable than the fear around it suggests. The word enough is the one that keeps more people working longer than they need to than any other single word in the English language. Most people are waiting to feel enough. They are waiting for a dollar amount that will finally produce the feeling of safety. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. The rule of thumb says 25 times your annual spending, which sounds objective until you realize that the real definition of enough has almost nothing to do with the size of your accounts. It has to do with the clarity of your plan. A household with $1.5 million and a clear withdrawal strategy, a mapped tax plan, a Social Security timing decision, and a modeled healthcare approach can feel more financially confident than a household with $4 million and no plan at all. The $4 million household will lie awake doing math that goes nowhere. The $1.5 million household with the plan will sleep. Clarity is what turns a number into permission. Here is the framework that Patricia built and that Gerald is now building, later than he wishes he had started. First, know your real spending, not what you earn, not what you assume you spend. Pull 12 months of actual bank and card statements and separate what you truly spend into 2 groups. What you must spend on housing, food, utilities, insurance, and what you choose to spend on travel, hobbies, the things that make the calendar worth looking at. That real number is the foundation of every decision that follows. Second, map your 3 buckets. Put your accounts into short-term money covering the next 1 to 3 years in cash and near cash. Medium-term money covering years 4 through 10 in more conservative investments. Long-term money covering 10 or more years out in growth-oriented funds. This structure lets you spend from safety while the long-term accounts continue growing. You never need to sell growth investments at a bad time because the short-term bucket covers you. Third, use the 59.5 window on purpose. Look at the years between your current age and your required minimum distribution age. That entire span is your tax design window. Model what your bracket would look like if you stopped or reduced work. Calculate how much you could convert from traditional accounts to Roth annually while staying in a bracket you are comfortable with. Understand how those conversions reduce the future distributions the IRS will force. A good fee-only planner or detailed retirement software can run these projections year by year. Fourth, Coordinate Social Security with intention. Create an account at the Social Security Administration website tonight. Pull your benefit estimates at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70. Every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age adds roughly 8% to your monthly benefit for the rest of your life. If you retire at 60 and begin drawing down investments in a low bracket, you may be able to delay Social Security to 68 or 69, which can add tens of thousands of dollars in lifetime income. The interaction between your withdrawal plan and your Social Security timing is one of the highest value decisions in retirement planning. Fifth, clean up debt before you exit. High interest debt entering retirement reduces your flexibility and your peace of mind simultaneously. Use the years between 57 and 60 to eliminate credit cards and personal loans. Make a conscious decision about the mortgage. Some people enter retirement with a paid-off home for psychological reasons, even when the pure math is ambiguous. The clarity of no mortgage payment has a value that does not appear in a spreadsheet, but is real nonetheless. Sixth, design the life, not just the finances. Before you finalize any numbers, spend real time describing what you actually want the days to look like. Where do you want to live in 5 years? What would a good Tuesday feel like? What keeps you useful, engaged, curious? The finances serve this picture. They do not replace it. Patricia and her husband spent 2 evenings writing down in plain language what they wanted the first 3 years of this next chapter to look like. That document became the job description for their money. Gerald told his wife he wished he had done all of this at 59, not 63, not after 2 years of working for a retirement security that was already there. She said she wished he had done it at 59 too. He retires in 4 months. He has already planned the trip. If you are between 57 and 65 right now, here is the question I want you to sit with tonight before you fall asleep. If you stopped full-time work at 59 and a half or 60, exactly how much income would you actually need from your investments each month after accounting for any part-time work, a spouse's contribution if that applies, and the Social Security you eventually plan to claim? Not your full salary, your real spending number minus every source of income that is not your main job. If you do not know that number, tonight is the night to start building toward it. Because the gap between what most people assume they need and what their accounts are already capable of producing is often smaller than any of them imagined. Gerald assumed 2 more years. The answer was already there. The question I am not going to answer today is the one that came up in conversations about this topic more than any other single thing. If you stop working before 65, who are you? Not what will you do with your time. I mean, who are you to yourself when the job title is gone and the calendar is yours? Leave your answer in the comments, not the financial answer, the other one. Because that answer is going to tell you more about when you are actually ready to stop than any withdrawal rate calculation ever will. The window is open. The math is more generous than most people think. The years are not waiting. Gerald knows that now.